So great. So this is the first session of the sales training, and the goal here is to actually help you do sales from the perspective of a marketing funnel. So when you're doing cold traffic and running a marketing funnel, it's a little bit different. And so there's some basic fundamentals of how to do this successfully. So number one, in running a marketing funnel, ideally you want to grab attention through ads is the first thing. Second thing is you want to collect information, name, email, cell phone number. And then the third thing is you're going to get appointments booked. And so once you have appointments booked, it becomes a sales cycle. Okay. And the basic on this is that from a sales perspective, there's really two things you need to do really well, or maybe three. So number one is you got to get people to show up. So regardless of what's going on, no matter how good the system is, I heard it this morning from my sales team, people weren't showing up on appointments this morning. And it seems like people were in the emergency room, or they had a pet die, or they got called to work, or they're a manager. So you'll hear things like that all the time. And the way to handle it is just to handle the situation. The environment's going to be the environment. But one should follow up with people before appointments personally. You can have text messages set up, you can have emails set up, you can automate all of this so it seems personal. But also when push comes to shove and you're a minute or two before the call, it's like text the person, hey, where are you? If they don't respond and it's 1 or 2 or 3 minutes past the call them, text them again, call them again. Spend 5 or 6 or 7 minutes reaching out to them on all channels, text, email, cell, till you get them to show up. Next thing is, people will do many things to just not show up to an appointment. It's just a funny, interesting thing. And it's just like, great, so we had a commitment and I blocked the time for you, so please show up on the phone call. So, and I've seen this many times with our sales team where somebody goes, no, oh my God, I double booked an appointment, I forgot. Okay, I got it. But we scheduled this call, so just please arrange it right now to show up, and they show up. So it's not accepting the usual excuses of what's going on in the environment, or it's not accepting that somebody can't make it now, or they don't feel like it, or wow, I didn't know, I thought this was a different day. Those are not things that we accept in our sales organization, because it just doesn't help the client. Okay. If people can find a way out of something, most of the time they will, when they're not already committed or serious about doing something. And so we got to make sure that they show up, and we got to be super diligent on it. So again, text, email, and call them. So those are the primary things to get people to show up. Super, super, super important. Secondly, booking more appointments. I can guarantee on my sales team, you'll have to see what your numbers are, but we will double our appointments booked just by calling the numbers when they come in. So you collect a cell phone number on the page, they don't book an appointment, and then you just pick up the phone and you call them. Even if they're going to book an appointment, even if it's 1 minute in, it doesn't matter what it is. Dia, you can just shut off your camera, because I'm just doing a training, and then I'll open up for appointments. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the situation. The goal is very simple. It's just call them and book the appointment. You could get the lead opting in 5 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, 5 hours ago, 5 days ago. You have a list of people they haven't booked, and call them and get them booked. So every week when I look at my statistics, I keep them in a fashion my team reports to me of like, here's how many calls that we booked from the funnel, and here's how many calls that we booked by calling the leads. And in the particular funnel that you guys are running, which is the same funnel that I'm also running as one of my strategies, when I look at the numbers, it's if there's one booked through the funnel, there's one booked by my team. So instead of one, we get two. So we double the results. So essentially, if I were to put anything in bold letters and star it and triple star it and quadruple star it, it would be the very fact that when, to run a marketing funnel, you have to call the leads. You will get double the results by calling the leads. Okay. So that's a sales cycle, and however you got to sort it out. In these situations, nobody's above the law, you know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is, nobody's above working to get the result. If you're not getting the result, like in my organization, if we're not getting the result, I'll just jump in and show somebody how it's done. Oh, somebody's not responding to your phone call, I'll call them, no problem. and I'll demonstrate how you get the appointment. Hey, you're not closing the deal? No problem. Let me come in and show you how to close the deal. So, when you're running a business, when you're running marketing, ultimately you have to be willing to do what it takes to get the result. And I think a big myth or a big mistake that people make in online marketing is that they think that the funnel will do all the work, and that's just a myth. The funnel will not do all the work. The funnel is there to make your life easier, so you don't have to chase down and run outside with a billboard and go, hey, I'm here to talk about XYZ today. Like your ads do that, so it makes life easier. You don't have to run down and then with a cell phone and collect every email address and be like, hey, give me your email and your cell, and you put it in your phone. Imagine if you had to do that. Most people do that and have been doing it for decades. So when you really think about the power of an ad rather than you with a billboard, right? Or you running around at networking events, when you think about the power of the ad is extraordinary, right? When you think about the power of an opt-in page, just collects a name, an email, and a cell phone number, it's extraordinary, extraordinary. It's like, we've all been at networking events like, hey, can you give me your cell phone number? And you put it into your phone. That used to be how people did business all the time. And it's still one of those fundamental basics that is not going to go away. That's a great way to do business if you're out meeting people. But, when you can run a marketing funnel and collect those cell phone numbers, I mean, how do you compete with the old Fred Flintstone way of doing business, So, you get these things working on a marketing funnel, and there is a degree of automation. You're automating your marketing, you're automating your lead collection, you're automating some of the booking of appointments, you're automating some of getting people to show up, but you're not automating all of the booking of appointments because you want to call those leads because they're gold, Somebody raised their hand, they gave their name, their email, and their cell phone number. To not call them would be a total flop, So it's just one of these things like, you hear something once and you're like, yeah, maybe I should do it. You hear it 2 times, maybe I should do it. You see other people doing it, and you're like, maybe I should do it. I mean, I've done this a million times, right? Even I do use an analogy of like cryptocurrency or Bitcoin today. Like, number of people, still 4 years later, they're wondering if they should buy it. They've been asking the same question for 4 years. Like, should I buy it? Should I buy it? Should I buy it? And so it's like, and they've seen it over and over and over again, and they've seen like the results of it, and they've seen the product of it, and people are saying, you should buy this, you should buy this, and they may have heard it 10 or 11 times and they still don't do it. So very much so in marketing, it's like, if you hear me say for the 14th gazillion time, you should call your leads, you should actually call your leads. You shouldn't wait to hear me say it the 14th gazillion time, But unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes. It just doesn't sink in. So I'm saying it many, many times on this, so it really does sink in for you. You just got to call your leads. So that is, those are the parts that you don't automate. And those are the parts that you can exponentially increase your results if you do the things that I'm saying, which is put in a little bit of effort to accelerate the product and the result of the machine. And then, that goes for booking appointments. And then when you get to getting somebody on the phone to then, you get them to show up, obviously, and then you get them on the phone, then you got to close them. And that becomes a whole nother cycle. And that's what this sales training is about, is calling the leads, getting people to show up. And then you have this whole other skill set of then how do you close somebody, So philosophically, I'll go into the philosophy, and then over the next several weeks, I'll go into like the actual process of closing the deal. But philosophically, like, here's kind of what I believe about sales. So I believe first and foremost, sales is about value, and it's actually demonstrating coaching more than anything. So if I get on a call, one of the reasons why I close really, really well is my senior way of operating on a sales call is to add value. It's just to coach them. So I want to show them what I can do. I want to produce a result. I want to get them excited before I'm going to pitch them. I mean, it's not uncommon, even while I'm pitching somebody and they've said yes, for me to even give more information to help them, even though I've already got the close. I did it this morning. We showed up on a call, and I just showed up because I was thinking about this guy and his message, and he's now signed on for optimization support with us, and his funnel's like almost launched. And so I was like, I would look at his message, I reviewed his message, and I was thinking to myself, God, there's something missing on the message, and it was bugging me for like 2 days, and I was like, there's something missing. And so his sales call was this morning, and then right before he was about to just give us the credit card because he already said yes. I had an idea, and so I reached out to my team. I'm like, this is what we need to put on his message. This is what's missing. So I popped on his sales call while he was giving the credit card. I'm like, hey man, I got the idea. I want you to just take the note on this right now. Okay.
So real quick, before we go any deeper, if you're looking to scale online through one-to-many selling, whether it's podcasts, webinars, or even in-person stages, and you need a personal growth strategy to scale, you can click the link down below, book a call with one of my coaches. It's totally free, and we'll put together a plan for you. All right, let's get back to the content.
So, people are most excited or most fearful around the sale. Either one, you've got the most opportunity to pop the momentum, and the best thing you can do is help them. Give them a win, coach them on something so they can see something, educate them on it so they can get a win and they can see something like, wow, okay, I didn't know that. And so I do that all the time. And so I'm not comfortable just going in to close something without adding some value. Okay. It's just my personality. Okay. I've always been like this. I want to add some value, coach. And then once I've coached to show them something and I see a light bulb go on, then I'm going to go in for the close. Okay. I highly, highly recommend that approach. I've got extremely well trained salespeople, and one of the things that's that the difference between closing the higher end sale and not closing the higher end sale is actually a function of product knowledge. So let's say you have two closers and they're great, right? You have one closer that's a great closer and you have another closer that's a great closer. The person who has the product knowledge will close the best by far, by exponentially better, right? Because then it adds in the component of what I just said, value plus the sales process will double and triple your conversions, right? Value being coaching plus the sales process will double and triple your conversions. So it doesn't matter how good of a closer is, in terms of like they handle objections, they don't back off, they know the person's goal, they're going to close them on that no matter how good the closer is on the sales cycle, because those are all a function of closing, right? Know their goal, know their challenge, handle their objections, keep originating and giving the command for the close until you get it. Those are all sales skills. But senior to the sales skills that actually make the sales skills better and the close easier is the actual function of coaching and product knowledge on your product to be so good at it that you could just blow somebody's mind in a second by just giving them some advice. Okay. And so those of you who are like super expert in your area, which I know is all of you, you will have that unfair advantage once you really master the closing process. Okay. So that's great, So philosophically, point number one is coach and add value. That's the senior thing, okay? Above anything else. Then secondly, what comes into the sales cycle is like knowing their goal becomes the second thing, right? Is knowing their goal. But like the goal thing is like, it's a very we use it and it's fantastic. Like, I'm not discounting this thing at all, but like one who has the art of coaching and the ability to add value and just see where the client's at and navigate and give the right thing at the right time will create this light bulb for the client. Well, wow. And they see the result and they feel that they can achieve their goals for the first time because they see that. So a goal without that light bulb moment, it's not real to the client. You see what I'm saying? Because now you have the goal. Yeah, I really want to make the goal, but there's no light bulb moment or win. So then they don't think they can achieve their goal. So then your sales cycle is harder. It's just it's kind of a funny thing. And are we actually recording this call? Oh yeah, we are. Great. So that's an interesting thing that needs to be understood, right? Like you go coaching first, goal second, and then the third thing that you would do is the close, right? Because you're going to close on the goal, right? And so So now you have layers here where you're like legs up, or you're like mountains up a normal salesperson above them. Because a normal salesperson who gets trained, you can't force product knowledge down their throat. Like an expert who's been doing something for 10 years, you're never gonna have a salesperson who comes in a year or 2 years and understands what the expert knows, right? So Joe, you can just shut off your camera, and then we're gonna open up for questions. So when you have like that type of mastery as you being the creator of your stuff, like nobody else is going to have that, because you're the source and the creator of it. So like, you're just not going to have a salesperson that has that, but you can train them on product knowledge to get them better and better. So a person who has 1 year of product knowledge under their belt, and 2 years of product knowledge, and 3 years, that type of product knowledge on your product makes them a better coach and makes them a better salesperson. Okay. So philosophical point number 1 is coach for the light bulb moment. Number 2 is know the number 1 goal. And that all comes through the sales process, which I'll take you throughout this sales training, which is obviously knowing their number 1 goal, their challenges, blah, 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 right? And then the third thing becomes the close. And that's when you go close. And so probably like the short-sighted closer who was never great or even revered as a salesperson, right? Like you can be revered as a salesperson where people really admire the fact that you're really great at closing, and they'll respect it, and they will actually close easily because you're so good at coaching them. Which is kind of the opposite thing that you get in terms of a stereotypical salesperson, right? Where the stereotype off there is like, oh, I'm gonna get sold, or somebody's gonna sell me, or somebody's gonna close me. But my philosophy has always been, if I'm adding value and coaching this person, they have a light bulb moment and they're winning, and then I know what their goal is or what they want to accomplish, and then I go in to close them, like I should be closing them as aggressively as possible on that goal, because they're winning with a light bulb moment. I know what they want, and now I'm closing them on the thing that they want and the win they just had. Make sense? I don't know if you're going to hear this philosophy anywhere else. It's just something I've developed over the years of doing it, but it works, and it's the best thing, and you'll feel really good about selling and closing when you do it this way. Okay. Of course, you'll find your own rhythm, your own art, your own way of style of what works for you. Everybody's got a different style, but these are fundamentals that I would not pass up on, you know? So, and you know, we've been doing this, I've been doing sales like this for 23, 24 years. So I learned the appropriate way to do this about finding out people's goals and then closing on that. And then I also learned through navigating in sales of like, wow, if you just have fun and you get off on the coaching process and the education process first, it just flows. It's just a higher goal, you know? It's a higher purpose in the conversation. So 1, philosophically, to repeat, coach them to a win. Number 2, coach them to get clarity on their number 1 goal. And number 3, then you go in and close. And that's how you do sales. And then as you get into the close, you know, the close is fundamentally, if you're training a salesperson, it's linking their number 1 goal to your offer. But I can tell you, if you're so good at coaching, the close just becomes easy. By the time you get there, somebody's like, okay, you know, and it's just, it's magic, you know, it's magic. It's not, you're not sitting there in the, because most of the objection handling comes from fear, uncertainty, doubt. I want my number 1 goal. I don't think I can accomplish it. I don't have any knowledge in this area, so I don't even know what you're talking about. But the moment somebody gets a win, it's a different game. Their certainty has increased. And so when somebody's certainty has increased going into the close, it's easier for them to say yes versus they're still in fear. I want my number 1 goal, but it's not even something that I believe I can accomplish. So I'm just going to stay in fear and just say no, and then just give you all kinds of objections, you know? And that's not what you want when you get to the close. So getting to the close, by the time you get to the close, the indicators of the customer, meaning the way they look and how they feel, should be good, you know? And meaning you should have elevated them. Now, I'm not saying you're going to take somebody who's like in total boredom all the time to like absolute enthusiasm by the close, but you might take them to optimistic or hopeful. Somebody who's lost all hope, you get them to the end and you get them like mildly interested or something. By the end, like you're probably going to close them because you've taken them from like, no, there's no hope to, hey, I'm kind of interested in this, So like you got to know where somebody's at, and if you bring them up the ladder, then by the time you get to the close, then your chances of closing them are much higher. Okay. So that is the basic overall philosophy of like how I look at sales. Should you close persistently? Yes. Should you give the call to action? When I say call to action, is like, hey, so you're ready to do this thing? They're like, yeah, great. Come on, you ready to do this thing? You're like, okay, that's like 2 calls to action, right? The call to action. I'm calling them into action. So really, you should keep giving calls to action in a variety of different ways until you get somebody to say yes. And within those calls to action, you might get an origination from the client of like, hey, so are you ready to do this? And they're like, yeah, but, right? So like, yeah, but, great. So they're telling you what they're thinking, but this, and then you handle that thing, and then you handle that thing and it's boom, good. So you're ready to do this and you're back into it. Okay. So yeah, so that's it as your intention going into the close and your attitude will also determine how it ends up. If you think the person's going to be difficult, you'll probably have a difficult situation. If your intention is I'm a little bit backed off or uncertain, or I'm kind of going into this conservatively, you'll probably get a conservative result and you won't get a close on that call. You have to have the intention that I'm going to give them a win. I'm going to find out what their goal is and I'm going to close them. And it's going to be easy and it's going to be fun. And if you do that, you're going to get the close. And that's just that simple. Okay. If you don't, you're going to run into all kinds of problems. And you have to be more a higher intention, and you have to be very caused to get the client across the finish line. Because in most situations in the sales cycle, they're not very much in a position where they're feeling at cause for that thing, right? Like if somebody's health isn't that good, they're not going to be like, yeah, I can conquer like my health challenges. Or if their business isn't doing well or they don't understand something, they're not going to be like, oh, right, they're not really going to be a cause in the situation. So you have to be the one with the intention and the cause and getting them to take action, and helping them get there, because they're unable to get there by themselves. They are. If they were so able to get there by themselves, they would have been teaching the subject themselves and been masters in it. They're not able to get there because they're not an expert, and most people are not able to make decisions themselves on things that they want without the support of somebody there. I don't see it very much, most people need the help of somebody talking through it with them and at least being there as a terminal to listen, so that the person can come to their realization of like, yeah, I really want to do this. But without a sounding board, without a coach, without a salesperson there, there's I would say 9 out of 10 actions on the planet wouldn't be taken. So it's a very, very important job. So that's it.
All right. So if you're serious about scaling your business online and you want help with my one-to-many selling method to sell on podcasts or webinars or virtual stages or in person, then click the link down below and book a free strategy call. My coaches will help you implement it. We've worked with over 30,000 businesses on these very same strategies. Click it down below and go book. See you soon.